Hey folks, this is Kelani. Patch 8.0 is now live, which means all manner of awesome new things to keep you busy for the next 4 weeks as we wait ever so patiently for the next expansion to launch. Let's have a quick look at what lies in store for when you log into your favourite character and what you can do to fill the time between now and August 14th. Sadly, the Mage Tower is now closed. No more attempts, no more artifact skins. If you haven't managed to get your hands on the ones you were after, I'm afraid you're out of time. Hopefully we won't regret it too badly as the years go by, but who knows, some of them might make their way back into the game eventually, somehow, some way. But for now, put down your war drums, tuck away the buff food, and hopefully you at least got a few unique skins. Plenty other bits and bobs have been removed, like Ahead of the Curve and Cutting Edge Argus, but we're here to talk about what we can do, not what we forgot to do a few weeks ago. Now, assuming the servers will actually let you in, it's been a bit of a bumpy ride so far for sure, but apparently Blizzard has several teams working to fix the problem, and fingers crossed you lovely chaps over on the EU servers won't have to deal with any problems at all. You can play around with quite a few things in this pre-patch, because quite a lot has changed. As for the actual pre-patch content, the stuff leading up to Teldrassil going boom, that's not going to be available right away. We'll have to wait until next week, so next Tuesday for NA, next Wednesday for EU, until you can start the War of the Thorns campaign. That will provide you with some fun storylines for each faction, as well as plenty of world quests, which are apparently designed to help you catch up with gearing if you've been away from the game for a while. We can't go into Battle for Azeroth with fresh leveling gear now, can we? Sadly, there doesn't seem to be anything to help with leveling your ults for this pre-patch event. I think I would have preferred that probably, but I can see why it wasn't included. They still want us to struggle with our allied races leveling up from 20, but at least we still have the Legion invasions for 100 to 110 leveling. Great, so we have to wait a week before we can actually do anything? Well, not necessarily. There's plenty of other stuff to play around with in the pre-patch. Perhaps the most exciting for any players who either haven't been that lucky or any players who just came back to the game is you can now buy Legendaries. Yes, I know you could buy Legendaries before, but you can actually buy the Legendary instead of buying a token. Any Legendary you want can be purchased from our good friend Vridial. If you don't know where he is, he's in the blacksmithing building in Dalaran. As an interesting little note, you can also buy any token you want for any other classes, so if you really want to get a Death Knight Legendary, you can buy a Death Knight Legendary on all of your alts to help get your Death Knight geared up. Now they do still cost Awakening Essence, 1,000 of them, which comes from a variety of sources like raid bosses, daily emissary caches, and random heroic queues, but you can now get Awakening Essence from a variety of sources that used to award artifact power. So you should have a few world quests on your map which reward a handful of essence, and there's a few class hall missions which award essence as well, so grinding up 1,000 essence should be faster than ever before. But wait, there's more. Go check your weekly Mythic Plus cache on any level 110 character. Even if you didn't do a dungeon last week, or if you haven't played in several months, you should have a Mythic Plus keystone and 1,000 Awakening Essence in your chest. That's just a free legendary right there, and a free legendary of your choice at that. So you might have been scoffing at me so far, telling yourself, no, Kelani, don't be silly, I can't be bothered grinding out another 1,000 essence. Well, you don't have to. Any alts that you have at max level should also get a box, so you can either buy a legendary for all of your alts, or buy tokens to help one character get as many legendaries as you can afford. Personally, I'm just going to spam legendaries for my paladin, because that's what I'm going to play first in Battle for Azeroth, and my poor paladin was left quite far behind in terms of legendaries, and it's just fun to open up a whole bunch of tokens at once. Sadly, that's actually the only thing that will be in your boxes though. Apparently the changes to Mythic Plus broke a few things with the cache, so that 1,000 essence is a bit of a sorry, please don't hate me present from Blizzard. Use it wisely. In case you hadn't already noticed, your health and damage, and pretty much everything else, is going to be a lot lower than what it was yesterday. That's because the latest round of stat squishing has arrived, so it should still take you the same amount of time to kill something as it did previously, just all of the numbers you're going to see will be a lot lower. Last time this happened was at the start of Warlords of Draenor, and despite all the doomsayers, everything went fine, and it only took 2 expansions before it was apparently needed again. But from what I've seen on the beta, we'll be dealing crazy amounts of damage again in no time. To go along with the stat squish, all of the Battle for Azeroth class changes are also now live, so you'll have 4 weeks to get into the swing of the changes before the expansion rolls around and we have to level up. And this first week seems to be a great time to get some practice in because we don't really have much else going on until the pre-patch event starts. After next week you might end up being a little busy depending on how much time you can set aside for our wonderful World of Warcraft. Another change which arrived with patch 8.0 is the change to how loot is going to work. You can't use group loot or master loot anymore, so be particularly wary of anyone trying to sell mount runs or anything else which requires them handing you loot. They don't work anymore, so that's probably a scam. Personal loot is the only type of loot from here on out, and that goes for everything, from guild raids to pug dungeons. Personal loot only. Now there's plenty to be said on the matter from both sides, but at the end of the day that's what we've got to work with for now. But something interesting is happening to old expansions specifically. Something called legacy loot has also been introduced, which again only works for old dungeons and raids, but whenever you zone into one of these instances, you'll have legacy loot enabled, which kind of overrides the personal loot rules entirely. Everything will drop loot as if a full group were present, so you'll get loot as if you had 5 people in your dungeon, 10 people in your 10-player raids, and 25 in your 25-player raids. Anything that's flexible, like Siege of Orgrimmar, will reward loot as if you had 20 players, so a nice in-between there. From the runs that I've done today, Ice Crown 10-man was dropping 2 pieces of loot from most bosses, and Ice Crown 25 was dropping 3 pieces of loot from most bosses. 25-man Heroic Terrace of Endless Springs was dropping 6 pieces, and Siege of Orgrimmar Mythic was dropping 5 pieces. So it's probably just going to depend on what raid you're running and what difficulty and raid size, but across the board you should expect more loot. The loot can also be anything on the loot table, so if you're a warlock wanting axes for your demon, that's doable again. If you're a fury warrior who wanted to play around with staffs, I'm not going to judge you, but again, that's doable. So transmog runs should be a lot more rewarding these days, both in terms of raw gold thanks to more items dropping, but you might also see the items you want a lot faster. A few extra items per boss per week can make quite a big difference, so if you have nothing else to do, go hunt for some transmog. If transmog doesn't interest you, maybe some good old-fashioned world PvP is more up your alley. The new war mode system is now live, giving you the option of transferring back and forth between PvP and PvE servers at the push of a button. If you decide to run around with war mode on, you'll get some extra bonuses from all world quests, and everyone you see out in the world will also have war mode on, so feel free to play by the rules of, if it's red, it's dead. Alongside war mode comes the new PvP talents, which are always available to anyone who has war mode turned on, providing you're out in the open world, and the account-wide honor system has also been introduced, so you can rest assured that no matter which character you decide to PvP on, you'll earn honor for your entire account now instead of each individual character. The Battlegrounds queue has also been separated, so Alterac Valley and Isle of Conquest are all alone in their new epic Battleground queue, but that means if you want those BGs specifically, you can queue into them, and if you want to avoid them, well, I guess you can keep avoiding them because, let's be honest, we all know you had those two as your blacklisted battlegrounds anyways. Apart from that, there's not much else to be said. If you're an orc, you can swing by the barbershop to get your back popped so you can stand up straight for once, and blood elves can cleanse the fel from their eyes and turn them a nice shade of glorious gold. It's awesome to see more customization work its way into the game slowly but surely. Who knows where we'll end up in a few expansions' time. But if you still need some pointers on how to spend your free time between now and BFA's launch, remember that you can still collect any artifact weapon appearance that isn't the base skin from the Mage Tower, even the other colours of the Mage Tower skins, and that also includes the Balance of Power skins, so they're all still available. If you don't have any of those and they look appealing, that's something to add to your little list. You can also get the Violet Spellwing mount from killing Argus on Heroic difficulty until BFA launches, so if you still haven't got your hands on that wonderful arcane bird, it might be easier now that prepatch has arrived. Personally, I'm just going to relax for a little bit, maybe do some transmog farming and have fun with the various legendary effects that became talents. Until we start leveling and get past that 116 mark, you can double up some of your legendaries if they were made into a talent. It could make for some hilarious results, like fire mages doubling up their pyro braces with the pyro talent for some insane damage on pyroblast, or frost mages double dipping on their ice lance damage increases. There's plenty to go around too, so be sure to check all of your talents and the talent changes and see if you can make any fun combinations come to life with your legendaries. Oh, and one last thing. Blizzard has said recently that there's still no plans when it comes to lifting the limitations on allied races, even after BFA releases, so if you are hoping for the exalted reputation requirements to disappear somewhere along the line, I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappoint you. The good news is that there's still time to get that done before BFA launches. If you ever end up bored and looking for something to do, and the prospect of playing as one of the 4 allied races we currently have access to still intrigues you, I guess a few more world quests on Argus won't hurt. If you need to get a few friends on board to get some some of this stuff done, you might be interested to know that you no longer have to purchase any base game or battle chest to play World of Warcraft. You can play for free up to level 20, and then if you subscribe you can play up to 110 without having to purchase anything else. The only game you'd have to buy now is the latest expansion, which is a really cool change. It might not actually save anyone any money in the long run because the battle chest usually went on sale for pretty cheap and came with a month of game time, but at least it streamlines the process so you don't have to buy 2 individual games and set up a subscription. I'll probably give my brother-in-law a poke and tell him the good news. Who knows, you might be able to get a few friends on board who were hesitant previously. More friends always makes WoW a better experience. And that's all I have for you until the pre-patch events start up next week. Hopefully you can find something to do. How are you planning on spending the next week? Transmog farming maybe? Or just hanging around until some of the new quest lines open up? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. If you want to hop on that train, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.